We want to bring you now tonight's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been keeping an eye on. We've talked about the metaverse on this show. You've got some experts now, some of them who are becoming more and more worried about how safe it is, especially for younger people. And it's coming as Meta, formerly Facebook, tries to address a real-world issue that's bleeding into their VR platform, sexual harassment. Maura Barrett talks with one woman in the UK who actually experienced some of this virtual sexual assault on the platform. Watch.
Today, we're going to talk about the metaverse.
Meta, formerly Facebook, sees a new world of opportunity in the metaverse.
You're going to be able to do almost anything you can imagine.
But when Nina Jane Patel stepped into Meta's Horizon Venues, a space for virtual events, something she did not want to imagine happened.
Less than 30 seconds into it, I was suddenly surrounded by 3 male avatars with male voices who were kind of saying sexual innuendos to me. Before I knew it, they were, for lack of a better word, groping my avatar. So they were touching my upper and middle portion of my avatar.
Patel said she fumbled with her controller and could not put blocking features on quickly enough.
They said things like, don't pretend you don't love it. Clearly, people are using this space to, sexually harass and verbally harass people and act out their violent tendencies.
This week, Meta announced new personal boundaries, so avatars default to keeping nearly 4 feet of distance between each other. The company says this, quote, makes it easier to avoid unwanted interactions like this one, and we are sorry this happened. Infringement of personal space, though, is not the only concern for critics.
It's incredibly dangerous, potentially, to kids to have them in that environment. I mean, honestly speaking, I'd be very nervous as a parent about having Mark Zuckerberg's algorithms babysit my kids.
The Center for Countering Digital Hate is a nonprofit that analyzes and seeks to disrupt online hate and misinformation. One of their researchers spent 11 and a half hours recording activity on VR Chat, a virtual world platform accessed on Meta's Oculus headset.
We found one infringement of the rules, and by that we mean grooming, child sexual grooming. We mean extreme hatred. One infringement every 7 minutes.
The organization shared its data logs and recordings with NBC. They found 37 instances of sexual content, 20 reports of racism, and 9 reports of abuse, most with minors present.
Try to bully some kids? Sure. Right there, that little 12-year-old right here. He must learn.
Instances of hate speech, homophobia, misogyny, and rape were also reported in the virtual world. Age limits in these spaces vary. Both Meta's Horizon Venues and spaces accessed with Quest headsets where these incidents occurred are 13 plus. Meta advises adults should monitor their child's use. Responding to NBC's questions about these incidents and reporting issues, a Meta spokesperson said in part, Horizon Venues should be safe, and we are committed to building it that way. We will continue to make improvements as we learn more about how people interact in these spaces, especially when it comes to helping people report things easily and reliably. Skepticism still remains, though.
As virtual reality becomes more and more realistic, so it becomes more damaging because, of course, the psychological impacts of that environment feel more real. They're more difficult to sort of discern from our offline reality.
More, it feels like part of the issue here is that the platform doesn't look at policy violations if it can't match them to a username in its database, no?
So this is something that the Center for Countering Digital Hate was really concerned about, because as you're reporting issues in real time, you can obviously see a user that you're interacting with, and you've seen usernames, right, Hallie? There's often jumbled numbers, and you can see that right in real time. But if you choose to report it after the fact, that's something that this center was really concerned with. Specifically, they found over 100 incidences and infringements over that 11-hour period, and were only able to successfully report about half of them. And now Meta does point out that when you do report something like this, in the report will include a recording of several minutes of your last experience. So they have that on the record as evidence, for example. And they also have other safety precautions currently in place. In addition to those personal boundaries that we saw added here, you can block a specific user. You can mute them without reporting them necessarily. There's also an option where you as a user can transport yourself to a safe zone. So you can kind of take a beat away from an interaction if you need to physically, in the virtual world, I guess, remove yourself from that. And they also also note that there are trained safety specialists monitoring and recording harmful conduct. Meta acknowledging that this is kind of a work in progress, right, when it comes to safety precautions that they might not have been able to foresee when they've been launching this product, but they do say that they're going to be monitoring activity and any incidents that go on in these spaces, and obviously adjusting as we go from there, like we saw with that addition of the personal boundaries. Hallie.
Maura Barrett, thank you very much for that reporting.